Dungeon Defenders 2, Trendy Entertainment's follow-up to the popular Dungeon Defenders, has finally emerged from early access and gone into its official launch for PC, Xbox One, and PS4. With games like Orcs Must Die Unchained occupying the same space, though, can Dungeon Defenders 2 establish a foothold? I'm Colt for MMOHuts.com, and here's our first look at Dungeon Defenders 2. Dungeon Defenders 2 is an action RPG tower defense game, similar to games like Orcs Must Die. In fact, both franchises launched within 2 weeks of one another back in 2011. The game is pretty straightforward. You choose a character from a roster of heroes. Each one has a unique playstyle and set of traps available to them. You choose a mission in the campaign or one of the endgame maps if you're far enough along to do them, and you team up with random players or your friends to defeat hordes of enemies. You gain green mana between waves to build and repair defenses, and you win once you survive all the waves on a given map. There are boss monsters, enemy shortcut portals, and all kinds of challenges the game throws at you to change the formula and keep things interesting. Dungeon Defenders 2 separates itself from the competitors by focusing more on an RPG experience. Characters gain XP, level up, and can be equipped with weapon and armor slots, making this feel less like Orcs Must Die and more like an MMORPG. Items can be upgraded using gold from enemies to increase their stat buffs, and loot that you get is scaled based on what your strongest hero is currently wearing, which means there's a steady, if not sometimes slow, sense of growth that remains constant. Visually, the game is gorgeous. The bright colors and charming art direction are like a living, breathing cartoon. Everything pops out of the screen and the animations are fluid and crisp. Particle effects and auras can be a bit much from some of the traps sometimes, but I feel like having to navigate through all the traps, explosions, and other effects of the combat around you creates a chaotic feeling that adds to the fun. As I mentioned earlier, the game has a number of different characters that all have their own playstyles and traps to use. By the time you complete the tutorial, you'll have at least 3 characters to play: the Squire, the Huntress, and the Apprentice. The Squire is my personal favorite. He's a tank character who benefits from a larger health pool and shield he can use to minimize damage while on the front lines. His traps focus on building barricades and setting up cannons and crossbows to mow enemies down. The Huntress is a range damage character that uses a variety of hunter traps for crowd control effects and explosive damage. The Apprentice is a mage that uses frost and fire AoE magic to great effect. Characters can be unlocked with Defender medals, which are the reward for completing quests, or purchased with real money. Going the Defender medal route takes some time though, as each character costs about 10,000 medals and quests only reward between 100 and 200 medals on average in the early game. As you progress through the campaign though, these rewards get larger. These quests are undertaken in the tavern, which is by far my favorite thing about this game. Rather than navigate through bland menus alone to get into the action, Dungeon Defender 2 takes a page out of platformer games from Days Gone By's book. Most everything you could want to do in the game is hosted in the tavern, the game's hub world. You can access a campaign map to queue for missions, accept quests from NPCs, and talk to merchants who sell things for every type of currency in the game. The in-game store even has a representation within the tavern, allowing you to see what skins and characters look like in-game as opposed to judging based on stock artwork in a store menu. Everything about this hub world evokes the ideas and feelings of games like Spyro and Crash Bandicoot back in the day, and it really struck a chord with me as something unique and different. Dungeon Defenders 2 does have its share of flaws though, the biggest of which is the progression toward new characters. In the early going, earning Defender medals is slow. Really slow. After a few hours of play, I only have about 400 of the 10,000 required medals for a new character. This wouldn't be so bad if the asking price for a single character weren't $10. Not to mention that there are lockboxes that can be dropped by monsters that require keys to open, and the keys can only be purchased with Defender medals or with real money. Each key costs 500 Defender medals or about $1.50 in cash to buy. It's not so bad if you've already found the character you want to play as, but if you're still trying to find your favorite among the roster, you're forced to choose between throwing away lockboxes that could contain powerful loot, or setting yourself back even farther in the already slow grind to get characters by using medals on a key instead. The monetization is, in my opinion, the only thing holding this game back. There are bundles you can buy so that if you want to support the developers who have poured a lot of work into the game, you can do that. The bundles include extra bags to increase inventory space, more character slots for your hero deck, and enough gems to buy a few characters beyond what the tutorial grants you. Dungeon Defenders 2 is an incredibly fun multiplayer action RPG built around tower defense that can be picked up and played in bursts or long sessions equally well. The game's sense of power growth is satisfying once you've found the characters you want to play, but the grind to unlock roster slots without spending money is a bit frustrating. Still, if you want a different flavor of tower defense MMO that gives more of an RPG experience, Dungeon Defenders 2 is worth trying. Well, that's all for today. Make sure you let us know what you think down in the comments below. Make sure you subscribe and keep it locked on MMOHuts.com for all the latest gaming news and reviews.